Check out this huge 9-inch all wood Rubik's Cube that is fully functional. And follow along in this video as you can watch me build it and just about lose my mind because halfway through I thought that it couldn't be done. Originally slated to be cut out on my CNC machine, I quickly realized it just wasn't possible. I did cheat and used pretty much every standard Rubik's Cube design. I did not make anything new, and it's just my take on how a Rubik's Cube would be made. Started off with 3x3x3 cubes, rounded the edges, and once you've done this about 600 times, I've had enough. Now, I'm over-exaggerating because 27 cubes times 8 sides, it just feels like it. And this is my triangles that I used for my brackets. You can see a mock-up. All this was handmade, but then I realized that if I had to make 20, I was going to need some process control. So I switched to a jig on my bandsaw. I'm holding each triangle up on a 60-degree angle, and then I'm holding another piece at the edge to keep it from moving around on me. And I just used a small master that has an arc of 6-inch diameter, and I just keep marking. It would have been so much easier to do it any other way than I did, but I'm only making one. I'm not trying to waste a way to make it work clean. And you can see in the first video, anyway, but it's fully functional. It'll sit on the coffee table, and it's so heavy that you really want to not hold it in your hands and hold it on the table and use it. So this worked out. Since I made the video, I did put a little bit more polyurethane on it. And once the poly's on there and you have such a smooth surface, I put some graphite lubricant in, and it actually moves quite well, better than ever expected. Right on this video, I'm just using some enforcement bits to center punch some dowels for holding each bracket, and it's not much to it, just a bunch of drilling, so I'm gonna let it go. Putting these brackets on was not that hard to do. Deciding to go full wood was probably the worst idea. I should have just 3D printed it. I would have been done a month ago. It was worth doing because I did look on the internet to try and see if anybody was doing them. And I did see one Australian guy that had done a replica. So his was 3-inch by 3-inch. And this one is massive and weighs 15 pounds. And it is actually easier. I couldn't imagine making a smaller one because the pieces would be so small. But this guy did everything by hand with just small hand tools. I think he used a lathe on a lot of stuff. So right here, I've just got a jig to hold it up while I glue my dowels in. So it's just big 3x3x3 wooden block. The holes are already drilled, taking some stock dowels, putting my pieces together, and just moving on, just trying to batch them out. This one right here is part of center hub. So center hub, I'm just using the same 6-inch round marker, marking it out 2 ways, and I get a compound cut on the center pieces. I go back later on, put some holes in the center use some 1/2-inch wooden dowels as my hub center, and then I put some 5-pound springs inside each piece. Similar to the way the cube works, except for mine's glued. This is before I make the hub, but I'm just dry fitting everything in there, and it's constant. You can see that one piece is still sticking out a little long. So I'm just having to take those corner pieces out, sand them down, get them worked down where they just ride pretty smooth. You can see right now at this point I'm roughing everything out. This is back to the hub. So I take a 2-inch enforcement bit, which holds more of a containment blocker. That's what holds this thing in. So on one end you have the dowel going in and out, and that washer that I'm putting on there actually didn't work. I ended up having to fabricate my own end washers. And this is the dowel that holds the spring on. Just doing a center punch right down the middle and holding a washer, a 1/4-20 fender washer on the end. And you'll see once I get that on there, I slip a spring on it, put it inside the 1-inch hole in the middle of the hub, and then attach the holding washer on there. And then, so at the end of that, I have 6 cube ends that have a dowel sticking out. And then I just take one of my extra cubes that I made, because I mocked up probably 35 instead of 27. And then I center drill the 6 holes for my dowel rods. And then I go back in there off camera and just cut off every miter end on it so that it's almost a ball. You can see it in there, some type of die. It's just, everything's 45'd off to make sure that my pieces can move freely in there. If it was a cube, nothing would have moved. So I had to round it off, and I didn't feel like getting a lathe out and making any balls. You can see I've got everything mocked up at this point. Slow down the video, it's a little grainy. And I put everything together, paint it, and at some point you can tell I get my colors wrong. I put the blue and the green on opposite sides or some craziness. And then I had a little bit of help putting it together. It is together, but then I varnish it, and this is where this video comes in. I had varnished it, let it sit off camera, and this is awesome. There's a little stop motion of how everything goes together, because you don't want to see this guy right here struggling to put everything in, because it's literally just like a regular Rubik's Cube. You just got to piece them in there one by one, leave that last one, and then double spring 2 ends up